tried to just be there to document.
Okay, I would love to get that from David just so I can like check out all the things.
I don't know if you David. You guys know each other?
Yeah. Totally.
So, yeah. So Claire, have you gotten anything contact you about when people are open to getting arrested?
Yeah, I've gotten names and yeah, I'll get
free speech. Yeah, the other thing is advocacy too.
Oh, there you go. We don't have that right in Raleigh either. Yeah. I still like the fact that they gave us we were placing signs on the Capitol with no speech, no free speech, no right, and then they actually gave us
Planning on doing that's my comfort level is I'm planning on asking around that person. The thing is, most of us know everybody here. You guys don't. Most of us know everybody, but I think the best thing is to just ask. That's actually what I was going to do too, is make an announcement like a digital listserv and say, you know, make sure that at least 2 or 3 other people around you know your name and date of birth, and they know that you're arrested and can't get involved.
If the mountain comes down,
For 2 years.
Steel mountains rise low in the skyline. Masses are gathered in chapel. I pledge allegiance to the age when thoughts are broken by the apathy that holds us away. Till the radio towers down. Till the radio towers down. Yes, and I'll stand here and bleed. Yes, and I'll stand here and bleed. Something happened. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over here. Yeah, he's telling me I've got to beware. So stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. I said, stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. We're all going down.
Okay, did you like it? I do. This is what a police state looks like.
Till the radio
Occupy Chapel Hill, Carborough, and I want to welcome everybody here. It is so great to see the support for our mission today, which is going to be read by 5 fabulous Occupy Chapel Hill members. I would like to call them up now and read our statement of declaration of why we're here today.
We gather here to address the fundamental freedoms that are necessary to create a just world. We reject arbitrary ordinances that restrict our liberty and human rights. For millennia, humans have come together to celebrate, to mourn, to build, and to voice desires and dissent. We demand these freedoms without fear of retaliation, regardless of the content of our expressions.
The founders of this nation laid its foundation with the same concerns that bring us together here today. They were, as the story goes, escaping oppression. They were forced to maintain a dialogue that was acceptable to the powerful few, while the many sat stifled without redress in fear of retribution. They revolted to ensure this freedom.
We are faced with a crisis. What is officially sanctioned is no longer serves us. In the face of corporate-controlled media and government, we need to hear and see each other. We need to speak loudly. We need to fill the streets with messages, bodies, and dreams. We need these freedoms as we need air and water. Without them, growth as an open and democratic society is impossible.
A recent memorandum by Chapel Hill's town manager states that the absence of a permanent Occupy camp, and I quote, presents a timely opportunity for us to consider enforcement of adopted ordinances and established policies and procedures regulating the use of the Peace and Justice Plaza and all other public spaces and facilities, end quote. The ordinances referenced make this gathering today unlawful because it is a Sunday. They make every candlelight vigil here unlawful because they happen after 6 p.m. and the plaza cannot be used at night. There's a confusingly worded rule forbidding activities which involve or are likely at some point to involve persons standing in areas normally used for a vehicular traffic lane or lanes, or 15 or more persons attracted to or walking or standing at one time near vehicular traffic or parking. Yeah. Any gathering could be declared illegal at any time. That one sentence could be used to disrupt everything from a workers' rights protest to a neighborhood block party. The enforcement of these ordinances is often discriminatory, applied to the poor and the protesting, while others flout laws without concern or consequence.
These confusing laws need to be abolished. And the rights of everyone to assemble and associate freely must be respected. It is time to come together locally, as so many are globally, and to end the corporate seizure of our lives and privatization of our public spaces. From the food we eat and the genetically modified seeds we sow, to the health care we get, if and when we can afford it, corporations impose their wants and expect us to dance to their tune. We challenge their expectation. Another world is possible. The best is yet to come.
Thank you. So our first speaker today of a list of fabulous speakers is David Mateo. He's the Latino pastor of the United Church of Christ.
Hello, this is a wonderful afternoon.
Yes, it
is.
is.
A wonderful day to talk about freedom. This is a perfect place to say, what is this about? This is not about people who wants to make a revolt, but people who likes to live in peace and justice and out of oppression.
That's right.
This is a perfect place for people who's willing to talk, to get into dialogue, and not only that, but demand from the system to have an equality society. We need a society that looks as individuals beyond the surveys, the statistics, and the numbers. I come from a community where the word deportation not only represents a legal way to approach an immigration problem, but the separation of thousands of American children from their parents. 500,000 of Latin America in economic exile who have come to this country trying to overcome not only the physical walls, but the economical traumas, corruption, and impunity produced by the effects of the free trade agreements. So this is not about people who want to cross the border because they want, but because the pressure of the capitalism over the Latin American countries. Thousands of Latinos today are in the immigration jails without the chance to defend themselves with limited English or not English at all. Victims of the human trade supported by the system that only look at them as a human material for politicians and extremist media and a recyclable cheap labor for a system that where individual has not a human face. Yeah. This is time to say this is not good, this is not okay. Where a country is saying the freedom that we are the country of the freedom and liberty, but we are stopping the freedom and liberty of people who has not the chance to defend themselves. This is an issue about a society whose human interests are falling down, and the essentials of the interests of this country in some way are lack of dignity, empowered by the selfish and economical formulas that are preceding the basic needs of its citizens. I'm here today because I do represent a community of people who has no voice at all. They are afraid to be here. It's not they don't want to come here and talk. And it's because the repression and oppression around the system is too heavy for them, against them. There's no way to go. So please, we as Latinos, we pay our taxes. We are demanded to pay our taxes. The system have given us a number to pay the taxes in case we work, but they are not allowing us to work. They don't want to give us a permission to work, but if you work, you have to pay the taxes. That's ridiculous. And how a system, a country so smart cannot allow that kind of injustice. It's impossible to allow that kind of behaviors in a country like this. That's why your voices are our voices. The way you speak is the way we speak, and you are the ones who are really supporting us in this fight. There's more than 12 million of Latin American people here in the United States with no documents, working every day, getting up early in the morning, trying to help in some way the economic of this country. But what about their lives? What about their families? What about all their issues? What about their needs? What about their dreams? What about their children? Asking questions, Daddy, Mom, or for what reason you're not going back to your country? Why? What's the reason why we don't have family here? So the problem is beyond that. It's beyond the numbers, beyond the statistics. This issue is about human faces. And as we are here gathering, we hope that one day this Chapel Hill will become a place where Latinos are not just shadows working hard, or shadows walking around Chapel Hill, but humans, people with dignity, that deserve some respect and dignity. thank you for allowing me to talk here. God bless you all.
Next up is Reverend Minister Robert Campbell.
If you want. But I want to listen.
What I may say may not be popular, but I'm speaking from experience. We have been struggling in the Rogers Road neighborhood for over 40 years for the basic amenities: clean drinking water, sidewalks, light, and traffic. That is to be lowered and not where the speed limit is running 45 and 60 miles an hour. But the change came only after we got in a dialogue with the government bodies. Sometimes I know, in my experience, it was hard. Because usually when you saw the Afro community in the chambers of justice, there wasn't a diverse group that was standing with us. Until solid waste became an issue, not just for the Rogers Road community, but for Orange County in whole. Often when it came to the Rogers Road, it was the center of where most trash was being generated. But when they talked about putting a waste transfer station in the backyard or in a community that was not Afro-American, that's when we began to hear the word, not in my backyard, NIMBY, not in my backyard. But what we began to do, look at the laws that's on the books. How do we use those laws to bring attention to what was happening, the injustice, the impact on the quality of life and health? I would say to you that Occupy Chapel Hill have brought the attention to not just Chapel Hill, but the surrounding areas. How important it is for all of us to work together. How do we work with government bodies to make sure that changes are forever, that changes that occur, that we can't go back and change the laws? You have the freedom to speak. You have the freedom to assemble. But what we have to do, we have to talk to the politicians. We got to talk to law enforcement and see how we can work together to make sure that when we do assemble, we're not in fear of being arrested. When we assemble, that we are not going to be attacked by those that oppose what we do. But we have to learn how to work together to make sure that Chapel Hill become the place where we all can assemble, where we all can talk about the issues that we have. When we stand silent and see that our brothers that are being profiled, when we see that the workforce is being used and not being paid like day laborers, when we don't say nothing, who will it affect the next time?
That's right.
And so how do we come together and work together to make sure that the changes that we talk about become something that we all can appreciate?
We're working on it.
We have to work together. We have to look at the laws that are on the books. And we have to use those laws to help us do the things that we do. I would say to you, and I suggest, that we sat down with the different organizations, the different churches, and we began to give them the demands. Write them down, make them plain, so they would understand that in order for the changes to really occur, that we have to work together.
Yes, we do.
So I ask you, the next time that we go into the chambers of justice, that we have an agenda to give to the politicians, the Chapel Hill staff, as well as the Carver staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Next up is John Paul McClellan. He's from John Paul's Truth Quest radio show on WCOMFM.org. and he wants you to know he's no longer associated with the Democratic Party.
I want to talk about what's going on in Chapel Hill just a little bit, then I'm going to move on to another subject. First, there's enough information in the public domain for the Chapel Hill Town Council to have already concluded that the CERT operation at the Yates building was completely and utterly unnecessary. There's no question about it. And to be even more specific, Josh Davis, who was with Reese News, had his credentials with him. He was waving them. He showed them to the officer that made him get down on the ground and put handcuffs on him and pointed weapons at him. That officer knew that Josh Davis was with the press. I interviewed Caitlin from the News and Observer. She told me the same thing. She had her ID with her. She showed it. Didn't make any difference.
They have no shame.
Why is that? Why is it that in every occupation raid that has happened, the police have done exactly the same thing with exactly the same tactics? Here's why. It's all driven from the top down. All right? It's DHS. It's the Department of Homeland Security. It's the federal government. It's the state government. It's the city government. They're all in the pockets of the people at the top. Now, the police in Chapel Hill, I believe, are victims. They're victims of brainwashing. They're victims of fear. They are fearful because they've been fed a complete line of crap. All right? Complete line of crap. And this has to do with 9/11, which didn't happen the way they tell us it happened. I can guarantee you that. Did you know that an international scientific team discovered that there was nanothermite in the dust from the World Trade Center? What does that mean? Where do you get nanothermite? There's only one place you can get it, from government-controlled laboratories. That's the only place it's available. Now, I'm not proposing a conspiracy theory. I'm just giving you a fact. That's a fact. They found nanothermite in the dust at the World Trade Center. It's not a theory, it's a fact. The conspiracy theory is that 19 hijackers took planes and crashed them into buildings. That's a conspiracy theory. And there's absolutely no evidence to support it. That's the point from which all this fear is coming. And they're raining it down on our heads at every place in the nation, at the local. Now let me tell you another thing. There's a group called the Police Executive Research Forum. On November 10th, they had a nationwide call-in conference call. Following that, and following one more such conference call, all of these raids happened at the same time. The Police Executive Research Forum is a front for the Department of Homeland Security. They're getting paid to do this work. And I about guarantee you that somebody in our police department was on that conference call. All right, so what's got to happen in this town? If you want things to change, we got to have different people in town government. And Chapel Hill is the perfect place to do this because we have nonpartisan elections. If you want to change what's going on, if you want to change the police policy, if you want to change the public gathering policy, if you want to change all that, we got to have different people elected. The only two people I would even consider voting for now in the town council are Lee Starro and Lauren Eastham. The rest of them, I ain't voting for them again. No way. Right. But we got to have people step up and run for office. People have to come forward, stand for office. On the next election, we need to get rid of all of those people who are not representing the interest of the citizenry of Chapel Hill.
Will you run?
I will not run. I will speak out. And I'll have you on my show, on my radio show, anytime you want, if you want to talk about this. I say I won't run. I might run. I don't really want to. I have too much else going on. But people have to step up and do it. You can come on my show anytime. It's WCOMFM.org if you want to listen to it online. It's got a very small broadcast footprint. If you don't live 10 feet from the station, you don't get it. But you can stream it live 24 hours a day at WCOMFM.org. We're a community radio station. We're all volunteer. Nobody gets paid. We all do this because we think it's the right thing to do. So what I'm asking everybody here is step up. Run for office. Take over the government. If you want to fix things, you got to occupy the government. Occupy the government. Occupy the government. Do I get an amen?
Thank you so much, John. Next up is Miriam Thompson. She's an activist and supporter of Occupy Chapel Hill, Scarborough.
Also a member of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom and the Raging Grannies. Raging Grannies, by the way, who every week have been mobilizing on the street, singing our songs in support of Occupy. Don't let me get my sunglasses or step on them. I want to recognize, I saw her a minute ago, Ellie, where's Ellie Kinnaird, State Senator? Who's been a strong supporter of Occupy, and I really want to recognize a public official who has spent her life representing the interests of the people. I want to continue where one of the things Steve said, which is Occupy has the values and the message and the system of government, and we have changed the terms of debate. Yes! I want to start with passages, and I want to thank Occupy for putting it on their listserv, but I'm not sure how many people read it. So I'd like to start with passages from Roger Stansel's memo. Roger Stansel, who we do not elect, and who the town has to hold accountable. The Occupy movement vacated, wrong. The Occupy movement vacated, wrong, the Peace and Justice Plaza on January 10, 2012. Group's decision to vacate the plaza, wrong, presents a timely opportunity for us to consider enforcement of adopted ordinances and established policies and procedures regulating the use of Peace and Justice Plaza and other public spaces and facilities. I'm reading this for those who may not have seen this on the Occupy website. Please make sure you look at it regularly, and I promise to do the same. The town's relationship, listen to this, with the Occupy Chapel Hill Scarborough movement has been positive, and a constructive dialogue has been established with the group that we expect will continue into the future despite their lack of long-term presence at Peace and Justice Plaza. Well, we are moving out. Moving forward, I plan, this is Roger Stansel, to ensure that the adopted ordinances and established policies and procedures regulating the use of public spaces and facilities, including but not limited to those mentioned in this report, are enforced by the town staff to the extent possible. The town staff. No mention of the town council who we elect. If you need, this is to the town council, additional information, please let me know. If you have a different view or desire to review and possibly amend any of the existing regulations, please let me know so we can add an item to a future agenda for discussion and guidance. I suggest we start that tomorrow at the town council meeting, 7 o'clock at Town Hall. And that's where we come in, occupiers and our supporters throughout this community. Few residents have read these ordinances. I have not read all of them, leaving legitimate concerns and even anger over the timing of this memo and the danger of selective enforcement by the town manager and staff, again, who we don't elect. We have a system of government, by the way, where the town manager has major operating control over the town, but our elected leaders hold him accountable. So I support the proposals you've heard before to meet immediately with our elected mayor and town council and make public the ordinances that affect our right to gather and the redress of our grievances.
Thank you, Miriam, and I have the ultimate pleasure of introducing Ellie Canaris.
I am so pleased to see so many people here who are so committed and who are carrying on the long tradition of those people whose names are there in that beautiful plaque right there. They have stood here before you and said, we must change our society. You are carrying that on, and that is what is really crucial. We have been a leader for a long time. Students have been leaders for a long time. Let me tell you about students. If you think of getting in divestment from apartheid in South Africa, led by students. The Vietnam War, we got out of that because of students. The civil rights work that they did led to the biggest changes in our society in 100 years. Students are leading the way, and they're here, and so are we. And we will continue this. We have changed the dialogue. All you have to do is listen to what everybody's saying about Romney, 1%. That dialogue has to continue. And we have to keep saying over and over, the people are the ones who make this country what it is. And you are doing that as you participate in Occupy, and as Occupy is occupying all over the United States and now the world. We're not going to go away, and we're not going to let this conversation die. Yes! Thank you. Thank you. Thank
you. Thank you, Ellie, for coming. I'd like to introduce, next up, Gary Phillips.
Hello, hello. Hello. So proud to be here. We are the bodies that stop the bulldozer. We are the infinite piece of dust in the machine that appears to be eating up America and the rest of the world. So God bless us all. Whose place is this? Absolutely. No, that's it. That's it. I'm only going to take a minute because I believe everybody's voice needs to be heard. But my first day in Chapel Hill was a day in which the students of the University of North Carolina had occupied South Building and taken it over to protest the Vietnamese War, to protest the racism of America, and to protest our march toward empire. And we are still in that long, extraordinary train of the people who say no. And we have to. It's absolutely imperative that we occupy our communities, that we occupy our homes, that we occupy our community institutions, that we occupy this earth, and that we become indigenous to this place. To occupy means to stay still, to grow roots, to become big, and to stand in our own strength, in our own intuition, in our own deep and extraordinary love for the earth beneath our feet. I believe really strongly in words, so I bring to you a prayer from Joanna Macy. It's called the Prayer to Future Beings. You live inside us, beings of the future. In the spiral ribbons of our cells you are here. In our rage for the burning forests, the poisoned fields, the oil-drowned seals, you are here. You beat in our hearts through late-night meetings. You accompany us to clear cuts and toxic dumps in the halls of the lawmakers. It is you who drive our dogged labors to save what is left. Oh, you who will walk this earth when we are gone, stir us awake. Behold through our eyes the beauty of this world. Let us feel your breath in our lungs, your cry in our throat. Let us see you in the poor and the homeless and the sick. Haunt us with your hunger. Hound us with your claims, that we may honor the life that links us. You have as yet no faces we can see, no names that we can say. But we need only hold you in our minds, and you teach us patience. You attune us to measures of time where healing can happen, where soils and souls can mend. You reveal courage within us we had not suspected, love we had not owned. Oh, you who come after, help us remember, we are your ancestors. Fill us with gladness for the work that must be done.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for everything you do. Next up is Brian. A local community organizer and an Occupy Chapel Hill Carborough participant.
Thanks everybody for being here in this illegal assembly. I want to locate myself a little bit where I'm coming from. I'm not somebody who knows very many people in the town government. It is a small town. I wasn't talking to the chief of police last night or any elected officials. I'm just a normal person like the other poor people in my neighborhood. You know, so the way that I'm situated, last night I got a text message. This is so you understand my context. Steve Deere said that we should tell our stories. This is my story from last night. Around midnight I get a text message from my friend in Oakland who went to the demonstration there with Occupy Oakland. She says that the police have trapped them in a space and are shooting flashbang grenades and rubber bullets at her and her children who are in the demonstration with her. Now, this is the country that we live in right now. This is already happening. It may not be happening to some of you, but it is the reality. It's the reality just like the people who are being profiled in my neighborhood, just like the 2.4 million people who are in prison. We don't have to think about that all the time to the extent to which we're privileged, but I'm going to talk about it right now, right? Now, she said the only reason that they were able to get away, that she and her children were able to get away from the police who were firing rubber bullets at them, is because people tore down the fence that was trapping them in there. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you to whoever took the risk to tear down that fence to save those people. Second of all, I want to say that tearing down that fence, I'm guessing, just like assembling here today, was illegal activity. When you hear about these people who are getting tear gas, who are getting pepper sprayed, who are getting arrested, you say, well, aren't they asking for it? Aren't they doing something illegal? Isn't that the appropriate way to treat people who are doing something illegal? And, for many of you who have participated in Occupy Chapel Hill and thought that you were doing something legal, thought that you were employing your right to freedom of assembly that you believed was guaranteed, it may be a surprise to learn that for 3.5 months now, we have participated in an illegal organization, in a conspiracy to violate town ordinances. But in Roger Stansel's view, and as the town manager, he probably knows more about it than I do, we are that illegal organization. Now, I want to say the only way that we get to employ our right to gather, to talk, to communicate, to interact like this, the things that we deserve as human beings, is by standing up and taking them, not asking for them, not begging, not waiting, And as one of the other speakers today emphasized, and as we should always emphasize, there are many people who would like to be here and for whom it is not safe enough. It is not safe enough to be in this space. It is not safe enough to interact. It is up to us to create a togetherness where we can live our rights, not ask for them, not get them granted to some people, not get them granted to the white people, to the middle class people, to the people who are not in prison, but live them. I want to say, my freedom, our freedom is not conditional. We act on that from the beginning. We do that, and we do it together. And if you listen to the town ordinance, as Miriam read it, he said, these ordinances will be, if you listen to the town manager, as Miriam read his memo, he says, these ordinances are going to be enforced to the extent possible. We decide how possible that is. We already know that these laws are enforced selectively. We know that these laws are enforced selectively because when UNC wins a game, they don't enforce the laws on them. When a lot of white people gather here, they don't enforce the laws on us. Now, what are laws for if only to enforce selectively? Well, I would say the whole reason to have these power structures is to keep the inequalities of our society in place. And the laws are enforced selectively because it's actually more convenient to have everything be illegal, so you always have a justification to crack down on people whenever they are being inconvenient for you. In a society run by bureaucrats, elected or not, it is most convenient if we never do anything. If we stay at home, if we stay inside watching television, and if you don't have a home, don't panhandle, don't be here, go somewhere and die politely. That would be convenient, you know. It's always going to be inconvenient for us to raise our voices. We have to raise our voices in ways that are inconvenient, in ways that are going to be illegal, you know? Because the society we live in, the laws do not represent any kind of moral compass.
Right.
We have to act on the strength of our consciences. We have to act together, and we have to find the people who are being crushed before they can even connect with us. We have to act together with them to make it impossible to restrict anyone's rights, to shut anyone down. So I want to emphasize again, my freedom, our freedom is not conditional. If the politicians, if the police want a conflict, they can come to us, or they can catch up and follow us.